Elon Musk runs 6 companies, each valued in excess of $1 billion, and since January has also spearheaded Doge, President Trump's efforts to radically downsize the federal government. As of March 27th, he is the richest billionaire on Forbes' World's Billionaires list. But how long can he continue wearing so many hats? Hi everybody, I'm Brittany Lewis, a breaking news reporter here at Forbes. Joining me now is my Forbes colleague, Alan Onsman, a senior editor and author of the Current Climate newsletter. Alan, thank you so much for joining me.
Hi Brittany, good to be with you.
Alan, I'm excited to get your insight here today because you are Forbes' expert when it comes to all things Elon Musk as well as all things Tesla. We spoke a few weeks ago in the beginning of March about exactly why Tesla stock took a nosedive. Now you're writing that things are bad at Tesla, they're about to get much worse. So to start off the conversation about Tesla, I think you can't talk about Tesla without first talking about Elon Musk, the face behind the company. Elon Musk is really synonymous with Tesla. So how many years have you been covering Elon Musk? And can you talk to us a little bit about his metamorphosis?
Well, I have been covering Elon and Tesla for a very, very long time, since July 2006, actually, when their very first public event in Santa Monica. And that was the first time I met him. And to be perfectly honest, I mean, at that first event, it seemed like, wow, this guy's going to lose a lot of money and this thing is going to not work out. So 19 years later, we're in a very, very different place, I guess.
And then from 2006 to now in 2025, I mean, Elon Musk is, according to Forbes, the richest person in the world. He's also President Trump's essentially right-hand man. He's spearheading that Doge project. I mean, what change did you see in him?
Well, I think you just hit the nail on the head there. I mean, aside from the unbelievable wealth that he's created, Elon Musk was never political, ever. I have no memory whatsoever of him having any particular interest in politics beyond Tesla getting its first low interest government loan in 2010 or 2009 from the Obama administration. Aside from that, like, politics just did not come up. And that is one thing. I mean, aside from many other changes, he has become very, very political. And that's a challenge, obviously, because he's so synonymous with the brand as its biggest shareholder, as its CEO, as its main spokesman. So as his politics have become very public and very specific, going in one direction, he does skew right, very supportive of Donald Trump. He's working for the administration, as you point out. He gave him a couple $100 million last year for the election. That's a tricky situation to be in because generally, most CEOs would stay out of the political realm, especially if they're selling consumer products that they want everyone to buy. If you become very political and very specific, you do risk alienating many consumers that want to get your products and maybe don't share your politics.
And I think that you really outlined that last time we spoke about how exactly and why Tesla stock took that nosedive. We saw earlier this month in March some Teslas on the White House lawn, President Trump talking in front of the Teslas. But in 2006, it's interesting. You said, hey, I thought he was going to lose a lot of money. That's not the case, or that wasn't the case. The company blew up. So talk to us a little bit about the rise of Tesla.
Yeah, so between that early phase from their showing off the Roadster in 2006 until the Roadster went on sale in 2008, Tesla looked like it was going to be a fairly low volume company selling a very expensive product. And the Roadster was a $100,000, $110,000 product for rich people, basically. It was not, it was an interesting idea and sort of a great test of concept, but it didn't necessarily indicate where this company was going. It didn't sell that many units between 2008 and 2010. I think they did about 2,500 units in total for the Roadster, which wasn't even really their vehicle because it was a chassis from Lotus, and they kind of put it together. The big change and the real turning point was 2012 when the Model S came out. And so the Model S was just light years ahead of what the Roadster was. And that really kind of created a lot of the cachet that Tesla was associated with this very cool, cutting edge, high tech product that people were calling at the time an iPhone on wheels. It was seemingly so much more sophisticated than anything we'd seen before from Detroit and from German automakers and the Japanese and the Koreans and everyone else. No one had done anything quite like this. The types of technology that were available with upgradable features, over the air in terms of the operating system within the car. Great look, really fast. It was still pretty expensive. The Model S's were still pretty pricey in that initial period. But that really that was where Tesla planted its flag. And then the next huge jump came in 2017, 2018 with the release of the Model 3. At that point, Tesla was moving into more of a mass market. So the Model 3 was supposed to be a $35,000 car. It wasn't. It was more like a $45,000, $50,000 car. But that was considerably cheaper than the Model S, which was going for $80,000, $90,000, $100,000. So the real volume begins with the Model 3, and then end of 2019, they come out with the Model Y crossover, and that just took Tesla to the next level. The Model Y has been a terrific seller. It's the top selling vehicle in many markets around the world, including in California and in the US, if you stick just to sort of the car market and exclude pickup trucks. So that's been a huge success. And really, those two models, the Model 3 and the Model Y, have really built Tesla's sales volume. And then finally, there's one more piece that's very critical, which was entering China. At the end of 2019, Tesla began building vehicles in Shanghai, the first company that China allowed to wholly own its own auto plant in the country. No other foreign automaker had been given this privilege. Prior to that, Ford, General Motors, Toyota, Honda, Volkswagen, everyone had to have a Chinese partner. And the Chinese partner owned slightly more. It was like 50.1% of the venture. You owned 49.9%. Tesla, 100% ownership of their Shanghai plant. Extraordinary. And the reason that's important is not simply that they have a plant in China, but it's everything that opens up for them. China is by far the world's biggest auto market, but more importantly, it's the world's biggest EV market by a ton. It is exponentially larger than any other market in terms of how many EVs sell there. And the other piece for Tesla is having that plant in Shanghai gives it access to lower cost labor, lower cost parts, lower cost materials, cheaper battery cells, and better logistics, being able to move parts and vehicles around the country quickly. And that really changed everything for the company, because beginning in 2020, Tesla now becomes the most profitable automaker in the world. It's nowhere near the largest in terms of total volume, but because of China was really the key to Tesla becoming a money machine. And it has stayed consistently in the black since 2020. And that's a big difference, because it went public in 2010. From 2010 through all of 2019, Tesla was not consistently profitable on an annual basis. Never. 2020, suddenly in China, everything changes and they're making buckets of money.
I think it's really interesting when you think about Tesla maybe 10, 15 years ago. I mean, there really wasn't anything comparable to it. As you said, it's cutting edge. It's essentially an iPhone on wheels. But now, as you write in your piece, things are bad at Tesla, getting worse. You're talking about some competitors in this piece as well. So when did you start seeing these viable competitors pop up onto the scene?
That's really been taking shape over the last couple of years. Tesla's had a lot of competition from different companies in different markets for a while. Back in 2010, Nissan looked like it was going to be a giant in electric vehicles with the Nissan Leaf. But when the product actually arrived, it didn't live up to the expectations. It didn't sell that well. So it never became a serious competitor. Over the years in the US market, probably not until General Motors came out with the Bolt about 6 years ago. Did any automaker in the U.S. market have a price competitive product that could kind of like take some sales away from Tesla? But the Bolt never sold in the huge numbers that Model 3 or Model Y did. Where things really begin to get interesting is in China. because China, the government has prioritized for over the last 10 or 15 years electrification. And the reason for this is very simple. Um, if you are a country that wants to dominate in a particular industry space, you look around and you say, well, the Germans and the Americans have been making internal combustion engines for over a century. They're really, really good at it. Are we going to be able to match what they're doing in that technology? No. Let's just skip it. Let's go to the next thing, because they see Tesla, what Tesla is doing. And this was another reason why it suggested the Chinese government allowed Tesla to come into the market and gave it full access. They wanted local Chinese automakers to observe and study what Tesla was doing. And boy, did they ever, because you have begun to see, there have always been tons of automakers in China, but most of them did not have particularly impressive product until a few years ago. Now there has been this spectacular rise in the capabilities of domestic Chinese automakers, starting with BYD, which is quickly just turning into a giant. BYD is the world's second largest battery maker. It is the biggest automaker in China now. And unlike Tesla, it does some different things. It doesn't just do EVs, it does plug-in hybrids, which have a small gasoline engine, which have proved very popular in the Chinese market, especially in places where charging infrastructure isn't that great. But BYD has just been crushing it in terms of their sales volume. Tesla's Model Y last year was still the top-selling electric vehicle in China. However, cumulative sales for all of the BYD EVs are far greater because it has many, many more models. And the killer is they cost about half as much. They are so much more affordable. You can get, a base model electric vehicle from BYD, a small hatchback, for about $10,000 or $11,000. I mean, there's just nothing like that in the U.S. And if you're willing to pay $25,000, $30,000, $40,000, that gets you a very nice vehicle in the Chinese market. So their ability to compete on price is tough. And it's not just BYD. There are companies like Xiaomi from the consumer electronics firm that's been growing very rapidly. Geely, which has been around for a while. Zeekr, which is a new brand started by Geely. NIO, which started up just a few years ago, but has very compelling higher end EVs. The list just goes on and on and on. And of course, you also have CATL, which is a battery maker. And CATL is, just like BYD, is also a Tesla supplier of batteries in the Chinese market. CATL has become the world's largest battery maker, and its technology appears to be running well ahead of Tesla's. So in terms of products, simply in terms of electric cars, who makes good electric cars, the Chinese right now are at the absolute cutting edge. For a long time, China was known as a knockoff market where foreign products were just copied. That is not the case anymore. They are doing completely original, very exciting new products with their quality keeps improving, but the level of technology and what you get for the money, no one can really compete with that right now, and especially Tesla.
Alan, if I'm a Tesla shareholder listening to you right now, I'm pretty concerned. And here's why I'm concerned. Tesla's facing some global problems. At the beginning of this conversation, you said Tesla was cutting edge. Now you're talking about a serious Chinese competitor calling their product cutting edge. Also, the face of Tesla, Elon Musk, is synonymous with Tesla. He's also with Donald Trump, working with that administration hand in hand. Trump, as we know, is a polarizing figure, not only in this country, but around the world. And Elon Musk has worse approval ratings in some polls than Donald Trump. So talk to us about all of these challenges Tesla faces. And is it more of a branding problem like Elon Musk, or is it more of a product problem?
It's both.
And that's not good.
No.
For a company.
In
you don't
China,
want to hear that for a company.
In China, Elon Musk is personally very popular. He's still very popular. They don't care about his politics. It just doesn't rate. They like him as an exciting entrepreneur. That story is very compelling in China. The problem in China is much more fundamental. It's competition. It's that the domestic manufacturers are getting so good so fast, and that's a big problem there. To the other, pivoting to the other issue, you're exactly right. The controversy over his relationship with Trump and some of his public statements and behavior, that is creating real headaches for him. Certainly here in California, where I am, across the U.S., but also in Europe. The North American market and Europe are really turning hard against Tesla. We're seeing just terrible numbers in the first quarter, down over 40% in the first 2 months of the year in the EU. We don't know U.S. numbers yet, but it is expected that Tesla's going to be down double digit in the United States, certainly in the first quarter. The early indications in California, which has been Tesla's home market since its beginning, has nurtured this company, has been the most reliable, loyal market, is turning hard. It was down. The only month we really have a look at is January. Sales were down over 30% in the state of California, but the overall EV market was up for everybody else. So they were the only company that was down. That's likely to be the case across the U.S. This year, and the reason for that is very simple. If you talk to people that study demographic patterns, who buys electric vehicles, who are the core buyer base, it's really not surprising to discover that most, not all, but over half of EV buyers tend to self-identify as Democrat or more liberal leaning. As a result, if you are taking very hard right positions publicly and moving and associating your brand with right-wing politics, that's not going to attract a lot of people who have been your core buyers. And thus far, you mentioned earlier, Donald Trump had a promotional event at the White House saying, I'm going to buy a Tesla, and Sean Hannity at Fox News said, I'm going to buy a Tesla. Okay, they can do that. Elon Musk's favorability with Republicans and Trump supporters is rising. The same people, however, are not necessarily buying Teslas, and that's the challenge right now. The politicization of the brand is an unwise move. Again, if you want to keep sales growing, so that's kind of where the company finds itself right now. These two different buckets of problems. In China, it's a pure competitive issue. Outside of China, it's all of the other stuff with the image and the blowback to Doge and to Trump for many consumers.
Elon Musk then sounds like a headache for Tesla. So what's the option here? Because he's the face of Doge. He's also running other companies. Would it behoove Tesla to remove him as CEO? But he is also the brains of the operation. I mean, what does that look like? And I mean, there's also a question of there's only 24 hours in a day. Is he even running Tesla?
Objectively, no. I mean, at best, he's a part-time CEO. I mean, there's just no getting around that. It is not possible for anyone to do what he's doing. And it's 6 companies ostensibly that he leads, separate from his Doge responsibilities. Getting back to this other issue of China, the competitive challenge. Well, if you have a distracted CEO that hasn't been laser focused on future products and the things you need to do to grow the business, if you're not paying attention to that, you shouldn't be surprised if problems begin to develop. And it does feel in many ways that he's giving away this first mover status that Tesla has enjoyed as the preeminent electric vehicle maker for a decade. BYD will certainly pass Tesla in global electric vehicle sales this year. There's just no question about it. BYD is already bigger than Tesla in terms of total sales volume and revenue. It passed Tesla in revenue for the first time last year. But BYD's total sales also, as mentioned earlier, include things like plug-in hybrids and some other types of vehicles that Tesla doesn't do. If you pull those away and just say battery-only cars, BYD will be far larger than Tesla. Its volume could be maybe close to double what Tesla does this year. Analysts right now are downgrading their estimates for Tesla's sales volume. It had its first annual decline in 2024. Right now, the expectation is it will have another one in 2025. And a key reason for that, separate from how people feel about Elon and his politics and these things like that, is the product line is getting kind of stale. The Model 3 came out in 2017. The Model Y came out at the end of 2019. The Cybertruck came out in 2023, but the Cybertruck is too expensive. It's too nichey. That's not a volume vehicle. It's not a mass market product. And it's been somewhat controversial. Tesla has failed to kind of fill out the product line. And again, that can go back to a CEO who's not paying attention. And I don't know what the easy fix for that is in the near term.
President Trump said he's slapping vehicles that are imported as well as some imported auto parts with a 25% tariff. If you're Tesla, what are you thinking about that news? Is that helping you? Is that hurting you? What does that look like?
Well, there are some people that say that Tesla is a winner in this because it's so heavily concentrated with its manufacturing base in the United States. I mean, it doesn't export from China to the US. It builds products in California and Texas at plants for the US market. So on that level, it's fine. And Tesla has vertically integrated many of its manufacturing operations. However, the tariffs aren't just for 25% on imported vehicles. It does cover, as you mentioned, auto parts, but then there are also new tariffs that have been imposed on steel, on aluminum, things like that. Well, Tesla, has to import, like every other automaker, a lot of electronics and components and steel and aluminum. So it doesn't escape the tariffs. It may be hurt somewhat less since it's not importing vehicles. Toyota brings in a lot of vehicles from Japan. Korea brings in vehicles from South Korea. The Germans bring in a lot of vehicles from Germany. So they will feel more pain than Tesla will. That's for sure. But will Tesla be unscathed by the tariffs? No. And the reason we know this is recently a group of, Tesla sent an unsigned letter to the U.S. trade representative basically pleading not to impose tariffs. It wasn't signed, which was interesting because perhaps the executives who put that together don't want to feel the wrath of Elon Musk. But, company executives made it very clear that they will feel pain from these tariffs. So, Tesla may be a little bit less hurt in the near term, but they will be hurt by the tariffs. Every automaker is going to get tagged, unfortunately.
For your piece for Forbes, you really highlight, and the title is Things Are Bad at Tesla, They're About to Get Much Worse. I know you don't have a crystal ball, Alan, but let's say, I know you've covered Tesla now for almost 2 decades. You are, if you had to take a guess here at how Tesla will rank in the EV market in, let's say, 5 years, based on all your reporting, based on this metamorphosis you've seen in both Elon Musk and the company, I mean, what does the company look like in a few years from now?
That is a terrific question, and it is hard to tell. There is no indication that Tesla's board is going to intervene and do anything in terms of change of management. And the other issue is Tesla has a very unusually small C-suite set of executives. There's Elon, and then there's a big gap, and then it goes down to a single senior vice president. There's no COO, there's no president, there are no EVPs. And what that means is that, Elon retains all control. Every big decisions have to go through him. There's no functional COO. And so right now, what that means is things like losing a competitive edge in China, for example. They're not addressing that. No one is like taking the lead on that. What's Tesla's killer plan to regain growth in China? There's no indication that there is one. So what does that mean? That means if Tesla's volumes keep shrinking, their sales volumes go down, their margins get worse, their sales in China go down, their margins get a lot worse. Well, that puts the company in a very awkward position. It no longer has this halo that it's enjoyed. It gets the Elon Musk premium for many years because he did remarkable things in the company's, formative years, its first, decade and a half. So it is, it trades much higher than any other automotive stock in the world by a lot. And a lot of that is the Elon premium. If things continue on the path they're on right now, the future does not look bright at all. And it's all of these things. It's the perception of the brand. It's the competitive challenges that it faces. Those have to be dealt with. And there's no indication that that's happening. So again, barring no change over the next couple of years, it's not a happy future for Tesla. And the issue is all of this is fixable. I mean, it's really not, these aren't unsolvable problems, but we're not seeing a solution, any signs of a solution. I don't think Elon will step away, and I don't think the board will remove him. And even if they try to put in like a more of a management structure, if you're the COO of the president, everything's going to have to still be signed off by Elon. So he has so disproportionate amount of influence in the direction of the company. So that makes things very, very difficult. I do know for sure that 5 years from now, BYD, Xiaomi, Neo, Geely, all these companies are going to be so much bigger. And the reason I know that is it's already happening. They're not here. We block them in the United States because of tariffs, but they're booming in Latin America. They're booming in Australia. They're booming in Europe. They're entering all of these other markets. So it's already happening. And as you watch this unfold, that's why the piece is saying, it's about to get worse, because there are these very serious problems that are not being addressed. And so again, the only prediction I would make is if nothing changes, the future is not a bright one.
Well, Alan, I really appreciate your reporting here. I appreciate your expertise and your insight. And I know there are plenty of more conversations to have about Elon Musk, to have about Tesla, and I hope we have them soon. Thank you so much for joining me.
Thanks, Brittany. Fun to be with you.